Today, I'm ranking all 95 Mario Party Superstars minigames. I know there's videos like this out there already, but I've always wanted to make a video like this, and I wanted to share my opinion. This list is purely based on personal preference. Starting off with number 95, we have Castaways. This one I just can't stand. The controls are awful. If I'm lucky, I get 1 coin. This is easily the bottom of the list for me. Number 94 is Piranha's Pursuit. This is a 1v3 minigame that's pretty boring, and it's favored towards the 1 so heavily that as the 3, I barely even try half the time. If you're part of the 3, you just ground pound to the cloud, and that's it. That's the whole extent of it. And if you're the 1, you just go through an easy, boring course, and there's not really much to it. There's not much challenge, and it's just really boring. Balloon Burst is number 93 on my list. I just don't like this 2v2 minigame. It's my least favorite 2v2 minigame. It's just very boring. You press L and R slowly. There's not much to it, and it's just not that exciting to watch. River Raiders is up next. It's a pretty boring coin collecting minigame. It's not that bad, but it's very slow paced, and it's pretty favored towards the 1. If you're part of the 3, sometimes there's just not much you can do. Etching Catch is up next. This one's another 2v2 minigame. I just don't like the controls for this minigame very much. It's very hard to control, and you have to cooperate with your partner pretty well to do well, and it's just not easy to do. Number 90 is Roll Call. It's really just counting, and it's almost always a tie. Up next is Tug of War. I don't like this one that much because it's favored towards the 1, and your hands always hurt afterwards. Puddle Paddle is just a very slow-paced 2v2 coin collecting minigame. I hate water physics, I hate boats, I hate working with partners that don't know what they're doing. So Puddle Paddle is not a very exciting game for me. Sometimes I can feel like a little fairy princess when the Hammer Bros throwing lots of money bags at me, but I'd still just much rather play Winner or Dinner or Catapult. Dungeon Dash is just another 2v2 minigame where it's hard to cooperate with your teammate. It's pretty boring. All you do is hit left and right on the joystick, and that's about it. My least favorite duel minigame, Spin Doctor. The reason I don't like Spin Doctor is because you can do absolutely perfect, and then you can tie at the end with the CPU, and they will still beat you. I don't like Spin Doctor. There's too much luck into it. There's always dead ends. But it is kind of cool. There is some strategy to it, and it can be a lot of fun sometimes. What? Another duel minigame right after I listed one? Yes, and the reason I'm listing Vine with me, the reason I don't like it that much is because it is way too comeback friendly. I could be doing absolutely perfectly, and my teammate could keep falling, but then I could get a bad Vine rotation, and they could just catch up, and then all that matters is that last final jump, and everything else we did was pointless. Now, this one's definitely going to have some bias because I'm always the one in this minigame, and there's always just one person that survives at the end of Title Toss. There's always just that one person, and it's always a different person every single time when I play with my friends. Actually, fun story. Once I was playing Mario Party Superstars with my friends. We were playing a 15-turn game, and we got Title Toss 2 times in the same game, and I was the one both times, and I lost both times. And the fact that we got the same minigame twice in 1 round is baffling to me because I didn't even know that was possible. That never, ever even happens to me, ever. And even when I'm on the 3, this game is frustrating. It's just frustrating no matter what side I'm on. Rockin Raceway just doesn't feel like there's enough to it. You just press L and R, it's a pretty much empty track besides a couple of power-ups, and even if you get one or miss it, I feel like it doesn't make that much of a difference. And I swear, those power-ups always stay on the purple one just a little too long, so you can never get it no matter how much you slow down. Storm Chasers should be good on paper. I mean, at first I thought it was an okay minigame, and it is, but it's basically you just chase the cloud, and there's not much to it. The Monty Moles are more of an annoyance than a challenge, and overall, I just think it's kind of bland. Picking Panic is just not much to it. You catch a fruit, you throw a fruit, you drop it in, and if you have a teammate that doesn't know how to throw the fruit, it can just be really frustrating, and that's kind of the reason it's lower. I do like Bomb's Way because you kind of have to fight to stay on the islands, and I think that's a cool concept. My biggest problem with this minigame is that it's just too easy. More often than not, at least 3 or 4 people are winning the minigame every single time. The concept is cool, but it's too easy. Bill Blasters, it's hard to shoot, it's hard to aim, and I know that's pretty much the whole point, but I feel like I get targeted a lot, and that's probably the reason it's lower for me. Number 79, I have Spotlight Swim. I have mixed feelings about this because I think it actually is a pretty well-balanced 1v3 minigame. It's pretty easy for the 3 to win sometimes, but it also feels like it's too easy for the 1 sometimes. So I would just say overall it's a balanced minigame. However, again, it's a team minigame, and it feels like there's always one person that is never keeping up with the spotlight when I'm on the 3. Also, I wish the 1 couldn't be under the water so much. Like, I get it makes it balanced, but it feels like they can just be underwater for like 97% of the round. Honeycomb Havoc doesn't have the most interesting concept, but I think just the memories it creates is the reason I put it this far up. I've played this game in Mario Party 2, and now I've also played it a lot in Superstars, and I don't know, I just remember so many moments of me playing with my cousins or my friends or my roommates in Honeycomb Havoc because all these ridiculous moments that came from it. Bounce and Trounce is considered to be the better version of Bumper Balls to some, but I highly disagree with this. I don't think Bounce and Trounce is too interesting compared to that. I will say it is very satisfying to knock people off, and this game definitely has its moments when it's like super intense when there's two of you and you're like on the last square and you're trying to bump each other off and you're barely staying on, but overall I do like other minigames better. Catch You Letter is kind of weird to me. You have to chase the shy guy with the letters, and the game concept is overall okay. I think picking up letters and getting to the shy guy who runs unpredictably is kind of cool. My biggest beef with this is the love letters that fall at some point. It's basically just comes down to whoever gets the love letters wins, since you get such a big advantage if you get those love letters. And I think that kind of imbalances the game too much for it to be considered a fair and fun minigame to me, because if you don't get that love letter, you pretty much lose. Dizzy Dancing is a Mario Party minigame. I think that goes on for a little too long. I feel like it would just be shorter, but maybe that's just me. I just kind of wish the game went a little bit further with the idea, and I know this is based off a very old minigame, but it could have been cool if they could like change the controls partway out through the game just to keep it a little interesting, because once you get used to the controls, it's very easy to go exactly where you want to go. I do like Cheep Chase because I do like button mashing minigames, but you just slowly swim in a straight line, and I just feel like it goes on for too long. Number 73 is Squared Away. I actually find this one pretty fun, but this is lower on the list for me, probably because of a bias. As the 1, I feel like I get cornered every time. As the 3, I feel like the 1 always slivers away from me. I guess I should praise that because it means it's balanced, meaning either side can win, but I don't want to. Cash Roll is a solid coin collecting minigame. The movement feels nice and it feels balanced, but it's a little too easy to get all 20 coins. Bobsled Run is another one of those minigames that is fun, but I feel like goes on for a little too long. I like how you can mash in the beginning, as you know I'm a fan of button mashing, but once you get to the course for a little bit, you're just kind of like, okay, I kind of want this to end now, and some of the turns can be a little annoying sometimes, especially if your teammate doesn't cooperate right with you, and missing those speed boosts or falling off just feels horrible. And I wouldn't want it to be too easy, but I do wish there was some way to come back just because the game goes on for so long, and whenever I'm losing, I just feel like there's never any hope. Leaf Leap is an interesting minigame, and we're getting to the part where it's the middle of the pack, so I don't have too much hate for these minigames, but I also don't love them too much. Leaf Leap fits that perfectly. It feels nice because it feels like you have a lot of control, but on the other hand, not being able to see where you can go kind of sucks sometimes, and I kind of wish it was easier to know. And I get that's part of the point, but I don't want to go slow. I want to go fast. Number 68, we have a dual minigame once again, Ticktock Hop. I feel kind of torn on this minigame because I like it, but I just suck at it so bad that I can't put it any higher. Every time I feel like I die, and it feels like the person on the inner hand has so much more of a disadvantage than the person who's on the outer part of the clock. I just wish you had a little more time to jump at the beginning, because it starts off harder and then gets easier, which I don't think is the way a minigame should work. Up next is Tread Carefully. This one's kind of cool because you get to fight in the little tanks and you get to blast each other, but I think 2 lives is not enough, and it's oftentimes too quick, and the lob doesn't really do anything. Like, I wish it would go a bit farther because I can't think of a single situation where that actually helped. Number 67, we have Monty's Revenge. I think this game actually has a brilliant concept, and I don't really have anything negative to say about this minigame. The only thing I wish this game had to make it a little more interesting and to add a risk factor to it is to add a multiplier to the hole in the middle, because I feel like nobody goes for it anyway, so make it worthwhile. Coney Island is an interesting game because you're interacting with each other, but you don't push each other, which I think is pretty cool. The problem I have with this one, I have a little bit of a problem, is that there's just not much to it, except you just hope that the ice cream falls near you. Otherwise, there's not much you can really do. Number 64, we got Nightlight Fright. I love this minigame because it's based off a minigame from the DS. Now, I know this one actually became before, but I grew up with the DS one and not this one, so that's why I'm referring to this. But it was like this free-falling minigame where you're all falling and the last person to press A without hitting the ground wins. And this is kind of like that, but the chain chops are in different positions to make it more fair, so you can't just press it after everyone else presses it, because your chain chop might be slower than everyone else's chain chop. However, sometimes at the end, the chain chomps feel like they go at a random speed. Like sometimes they can leap right at you and sometimes they just wait a while. So that kind of makes the strategy of pressing A to be a little too luck-based for my liking. This next minigame I thought I would put higher because I was actually really excited this was coming to Mario Party Superstars because I saw it in the GameCube and it looked like a lot of fun. But actually playing it, it is pretty cool because I like punching things. But at the same time, it feels like if somebody gets a little bit ahead, they automatically win. And I know sometimes I criticize games that are too comeback friendly, but the game shouldn't be decided after the first this round. Facelift is a Bowser minigame. You just shift the Bowser's face into the Bowser. I think it's pretty fun. It's a nice, calm, relaxing minigame. I don't know, there's just something about it that feels nice. Like, it reminds me of, like, doing arts and crafts. Sky Pilots is another interesting minigame. However, I don't like this minigame as much as I could because I'm always in the back and I'm always the little flapper guy who's flapping the wings, and steering can be way more fun. And although it's still not the most exciting minigame, it can be pretty fun, and I think it's pretty satisfying to avoid some cannonballs or Bowser balloons. Pushy Penguins is another one of those minigames from the GameCube that looked pretty fun, and I was excited to come. The penguins can be very annoying sometimes and form those annoying impenetrable walls, but it can be very satisfying to just slip right through the cracks of them and to stay on the platform. This game ends in ties more often than I'd like it to, but I think it's a pretty interesting minigame, and I think it's just a nice chill minigame. Chill, get it? Fun, no pun intended. And it's just a lot of fun to me, and I'm glad it's in the game. This game has a great concept, but I kind of wish it was a little harder because it's practically just 20 free coins every single time. Number 59 is one of my favorite Bowser minigames in Mario Party Superstars, Pit Boss. It's kind of similar to Ice Rink Risk, but I actually don't like this one as much as that because you can't jump over the spikes, and it feels a lot harder, and it just feels unfair more of the time because you can get cornered way more easily and just end up losing. Number 58 is Cake Factory. I will say building the cakes is pretty satisfying, but I cannot count on my hands and my toes how many times I've just been standing there looking dumb with a strawberry in my hands, not being able to do anything with it because my teammate can't figure out how to pick up a freaking cake. Arch Rival is one of those mini games. I just don't know how they came up with this concept. I don't know how they came up with this idea, but here it is. This minigame does slightly favor the one in my opinion, but I think it's just ridiculous. The whole concept is just amazing, and it's honestly just so silly. I just love it. Pogo-A-Go-Go is a minigame that I actually really like just because I like being the 3 in this minigame, and I think it's really satisfying when the 1 can get you off. And I don't know, something about that minigame, it always makes me laugh how they just can't get me. Number 52 is Slot Car Derby. There's not much to say about this minigame. It's a solid meh from me. I do really love the one feature in this minigame though, where if the person in front of you is going really slow and you catch up to them, you just knock them off the track completely. Mush Pit is a really creative minigame that I actually really enjoy. There's a bit of randomness, but there's so much skill elements on both sides, you know, controlling yourself with the Mega Mushroom and avoiding the person in the Mega Mushroom, getting the Mega Mushroom from the block. You know, there's so many skill elements, yet some randomness, and I think it just makes for an overall wacky, fun minigame. I put Pokey Pummel here because I really do like button mashing minigames, but Pokey Pummel is probably the least exciting button mashing minigame that I've ever played. Parasol Plummet is overall a very enjoyable coin collecting minigame. There's only one little irk I have with this game, and that's when somebody just constantly steals all the coins, and I feel like I can't really move them out of the way in time. I don't know if there's really a counter for that, but overall it's still a really good game. Trap Ease Artist is a game I actually used to hate quite a bit, but I've actually grown accustomed to it, and the reason I used to hate it is because, yes, there is a chance that Goombas just won't walk under your cage and you can just get screwed, but it's so satisfying when you do, and it is a short minigame, and, you know, I'm glad Mario Party has some variety. You know, I don't want every minigame to be 100% skill-based, because that's just not the spirit of Mario Party. We're now at 50, which is not halfway, because it's only 95. I'm not doing all 100, but Dark and Crispy, yes, my favorite Bowser minigame. I mean, there's only 3 in the game, so, I mean, at least it made it to the top 50, but Dark and Crispy, I like it because you can't really see, so you have to pay very close attention, and you have to get to the right area. And at first, you know, it was kind of meh for me, but I have gotten better at it. And, you know, with time, as I get better at minigames, I start to like them more. And Dark and Crispy just, it feels like there's enough skill to it, but it's also very difficult. So I appreciate the challenge. I know I put some minigames lower on the list because they were slower paced, and Trace Race definitely is a slow paced minigame, but I don't know, there's something about it. I mean, it's meant to be taken slow. You draw a line, you want to make sure it's perfect. And I definitely think there is such a big skill ceiling to it. Every time I see it, you know, I'm not the most thrilled in the world, hence why it's number 49. Are we at 49? I grew up with Mario Party 8, and if you've played Mario Party 8, you're probably familiar with the minigame Swing Kings. And I always found that minigame kind of boring, like half the minigames in Mario Party 8. But Dinger Derby is a nice little minigame I actually didn't know existed until Mario Party Superstars, which is basically a good version of that, where, you know, you're all standing side to side, and the pitches are always unpredictable, and you have to try to, you know, hit as many balls as you can. It's definitely better than Swing Kings, where it's super easy to just tie with everyone. Booksquirm, I don't know why people freak out over Booksquirm so much. To me, I mean, it's a good minigame, but some people praise it way too much than I think it's worth. So yeah, it's an interesting game. You run to the shapes and you push each other out of the way, but Again, it doesn't feel like anything special or outlandish that deserves to be anywhere higher. Bumper Balloon Cars has awful controls, but over time, I've grown to learn that that's what makes it so good. I love the controls in Bumper Cars or Bumper Balloon Cars, and I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. Later Skater is another one of those mini games where when I first played it, I was like, that was it? How is this in like a Mario Party game where it has like all the best mini games and you put a game like Later Skater? But over time, I've grown to like it. I don't know if it's just because for the ironic fact that I've always thought it was such an average mini game that I actually thought it was funny and started to like it more just for the fact of that. But nevertheless, I've actually grown to like it. I think the controls are actually really nice and smooth, and it's actually not bad. I actually enjoy it somewhat. This is a very similar game to Leaf Leap, but you can actually see where you're going, so I can actually go fast, and it's much more skill-based than Leaf Leap, in my opinion, since you can go faster, and if you can go really fast, you can get really high, hence the skill ceiling. Revers-a-Bomb is one of those minigames that I think had an amazing concept and just didn't go all the way that it should have with it. I just think the problem with it is that if you get hit with one of the bombs that cross over to your side, you get thrown back and can't press any buttons for so long, which makes it even harder for you to catch up. So I think they shouldn't have that feature. If you blow up, you just lose a point and that's it. You can keep going at a fast rate. But other than that, I think it's pretty good. Speed hockey is one of those goofy mini games that, you know, you can be skilled at it, but a lot of the time it's just weird and you don't really have any control of what's going on. The game reminds me of foosball. You know, you kind of just move up and down, try to block the ball, but most of the time you just end up scoring on yourself, and it's really hilarious to see those teams score on themselves. Handcar Havoc does have a similar vibe to Sky Pilots and Bobsled Run, so me putting it this far up ahead of the others, you may be wondering why I've done so, and the reason is simply mostly just because in Handcar Havoc, it's just so satisfying to drive the little minecart. I love button mashing, and I love the steering. It's so satisfying when you're almost about to fall off, but then you don't, and then there's that last section where you can mash as fast as you can. So overall, I actually really love this minigame a lot. Quicksand Cache may have too many coins in rotation, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, and I actually really enjoy this minigame on both sides, as the 1 and the 3. I think the 1 has a fair amount of control if you're good enough, and the 3, you know, just running around and collecting coins. What's more fun than that? Man, I cannot believe I put Bumper Balls this high, but yes, Bumper Balls is a classic minigame to me. I don't know, I thought it was average at first, but over time I've just grown to like it, and I think it's a lot of fun when you're bouncing between lots of people, knocking each other off, and not every minigame needs to be overly complicated or have some sort of gimmick. Next up is Rink Risk, and I think it is a lot of fun in my opinion. It feels pretty satisfying to be able to avoid all the spikes all the time. The only gripe I have with this game is when the spike falls right on your head, and there's nothing you can really do to react in time. Goomba Sporting was always a minigame that stuck out to me, and actually for a while when I was a kid, it was actually my favorite Mario Party 9 minigame, but I know this and Roll Call are both counting games, and so you may be wondering why I put them so far apart, but the concept of counting the Goombas as they run by, I just feel like it's a lot easier, it's a lot more fun, and even though it results in more ties, I just find this minigame much more enjoyable. Messy Memory is a nice game because I have a photographic memory. I always get a perfect score in Messy Memory, and I just like that about it. It's a little too easy, but overall, I actually do really like it. It's nice because I always feel so smart whenever I get everything perfect. I like Money Belts. It was one of the first minigames I played when I got Mario Party Superstars. I think it's a fairly balanced minigame, and I think it is a little ridiculous, and that's what makes it fun. I don't even know how to describe it. I just like Money Belts. Whenever I see Money Belts, I'm just pleasant. I just have a feeling of pleasance whenever Money Belts appears, and that's why it's not the top, but you know, it's up there. Coconut Conk is one of those minigames. At first, you might think the 3 has the clear advantage, but playing as the 1 and avoiding all those coconuts has been so satisfying once I became good at it. I just really like it, avoiding it, and it's still easy to win as the 3s, so I always win that minigame, so therefore, I like it. I never thought anything too special of Boulder Ball until later into the game, and when I started playing this game a lot more with my roommates, and my roommates used to always get so frustrated at this game. It was just so funny. Being at the top with the boulder just makes me feel like I have so much power, and I just feel like I'm in control of everything, and I can never be stopped. Yeah, so that's why I put Boulder Ball this high up, and I think it can be satisfying, you know, when you split up as the 3, and I don't know, something about it's just fun. Number 31 is the final countdown. This is a very solid minigame. I love brawl minigames, and this has a unique concept that I really love of the panels, you know, counting down, so certain parts of the platform temporarily go away rather than the arena getting smaller. Sneak and Snore is another one of those minigames that nobody really likes. It's not considered to be that good of a minigame because it's really hard to control and it's often easy to lose, but I actually have become really good at it, and that ridiculousness is the part of the reason I like it. It doesn't really fit into Mario Party, nobody really likes it, and I think I just tend to have more unpopular opinions, and so that's why I just tend to gain pleasure from other people suffering at these games. Skewer Scurry is a 1v3 minigame from Mario Party 10, and it is not the most balanced minigame, but I still like it because it's fun to watch the one get frustrated, similar to Pogo a Go-Go, where the one just can't get me out, and I'm just running around, hiding behind the little corner, and it's so easy that, I don't know, I just put it higher, and, it can be fun as the one if you're going against people and you juke them out. It can be really satisfying. I don't know, maybe it doesn't deserve this spot this high up, but I actually really enjoy it. Who doesn't love Paint Misbehavin'? Paint Misbehavin' is a classic Mario Party 8 minigame. It's a 2v2, and painting the Goombas is just so much fun. I love watching them all turn to different colors, and just the environment of being on a desk and the opening and closing cutscenes just give this minigame so much charm. Number 28, we have Goal, a balanced 1v3 minigame. The diving feature is pretty useless, but overall, it's a pretty nice game. 3 people try to score on the one, and most games end pretty close. It's not one of those 1v3 minigames where it's like, oh, I'm the 3, so I'm gonna lose. Number 27 is another amazing 1v3 minigame, 2-bit or lose it. I find it so satisfying being the 1, being able to knock out the 3, and just being the 3 and swerving around to avoid the 1. A very intense minigame that deserves a high spot on this list. Next up is Motor Rooter from Mario Party 3. I actually like this minigame a lot because there's a minigame from Mario Party 8, I forget what it's called, that reminds me a lot of this minigame, and I really like that minigame, so I really like this minigame, and I think it's a lot of fun, very skill-based in comparison to the other dual minigames that we've went over, Vine With Me, Spin Doctor. Those minigames just aren't as skill-based, and I really appreciate that because, sometimes I'm betting over 100 coins in these duels. I want to be rewarded for my skill. Eat a Pizza is a fun button-mashing minigame that is a 2v2, and you just gotta try to eat the most pizza as possible. It's a button-mashing minigame, and fun fact, I have never, ever, ever lost this minigame. If you go to my stats in my house, I have a 100% win rate in Eat a Pizza. So that was really cool. There's only 2 minigames I have a perfect score in, Paint Misbehavin' and this one. So I usually get a perfect score, and my roommates loved when they're teamed with me in this game because I always carry them. I don't even know how to describe how much I like Crazy Cutters. You just kind of cut something out, and, it's just really satisfying to do. I don't even know how to describe it, so I'm just going to move on. Hammer Drop is the most broken coin collecting minigame I have ever seen. Most of the time, I'm getting 30 to 40 to 50 coins in this minigame, which is absolutely unbelievably OP. And I've gotten over 100 coins in this minigame when it became a double minigame, so I don't know why it's like this. I just love it for the sheer absurdity of how broken it is and how easy it is to get coins. Number 22 is Look Away. What can I say about Look Away? There's just so much charm in this minigame. I don't know. The music is so fun. You get to see the characters dance around, and it's just an overall cute, fun minigame. Also, I love the fact that this minigame is all about mind games. And I love playing mind games on people, and this minigame is perfect for that. Up next, we got Mecha Marathon, and you may be wondering why I put Pokey Pummel so far back, and I put Mecha Marathon all the way up here, when Pokey Pummel is just pressing A as fast as you can, and Mecha Marathon is pressing A and B as fast as you can. But the things I like about Mecha Marathon more is A, it's longer, so it feels like more of an engaging experience. 2, you can't see who's winning while it's going on. And finally, you have the little show at the end where you get to see which fly guy goes the farthest. And, just cheering your little fly guy on when all your friends or roommates are just cheering them on for theirs. It's just a really much more fun experience than just, a quick game of Pokey Pummel. Number 19, we have Rapid River Race, and I'm surprised I put it this high. Now, the truth is, I really like it. It was my favorite minigame in Mario Party 10, so I'm glad they brought it back, and it is still pretty good. However, the controls just feel so much worse in Superstars. In Mario Party 10, I feel like I was pretty good at it, and no matter how much I practice it in Superstars, I feel like I always get hit if I go max speed, so I feel like they changed something about it, but it's still an overall solid minigame. Number 18 is Manor of Escape. Manor of Escape has that perfect combination, well, maybe not perfect, but it has a great combination of skill and luck. It's skill because you have to keep track of what doors everyone else goes in so you have a better idea of which door you're supposed to go in. But when you go first, you have a little bit of an advantage because you could go into the right door first, you have first choice, and if you pick the right door, you win. But the problem is people can watch where you go, they can follow you, and if they pick a different door at the very bottom row, you could lose all your progress. So it has that nice feel of if you have a lot of good memory, you can win most of the time. but it has that comeback feature that makes it so nobody ever gives up and nobody ever feels like they're going to lose. And I think that's a good trait in a Mario Party minigame. My favorite duel minigame, number 17 on the list, is Mass Meteor. I just think it's a really skill-based minigame, the only 100% skill-based duel minigame that isn't very comeback-friendly, and I really like it because I always win this duel. And for number 17, I have Hide and Sneak. Now, I know a lot of people might not like this minigame too much, but I think the RNG element of it all just makes it that much more exciting and engaging. Like, every time me and my roommates play it, you know, when no matter what's picked, it feels like we're always screaming like of how excited we are or how upset we are, or it's always just such an exciting game. And the randomness of Mario Party, you know, we need RNG minigames in Mario Party because that's part of what makes Mario Party Mario Party. And that's why I really appreciate minigames like this. Number 15, we have Tipsy Tourney. I think this is just a really satisfying game to play. Like I've said about many other minigames, you just run around on a platform and you got to clear all the squares. I could play this game all day and never get tired of it. Burn Style was a really cool minigame to me because I don't know why it was 2v2 when they could have made it a 4-player and just had like 4 different platforms, but I think it's really cool that it's a 2v2. One, I like this minigame because you have more control of your character than you do in Ticktock Hop since you can move back and forth. And it's kind of cool because since it's a 2v2 minigame, if your teammate dies or you die, you can cheer each other on from the sidelines and still win, which is pretty cool to have that kind of feature in Mario Party. Number 13, as I've said earlier, Bowser's Big Blast is one of my top favorite minigames for the same reasons I said about Hide and Sneak. The intensity of waiting there wondering if you got out, the sheer randomness knowing that anybody can win regardless of your skill level, is just something that really benefits Mario Party. For number 12, I have Flash Forward. Flash Forward is just a very chaotic game. Again, although I do appreciate skill minigames in Mario Party, the minigames that are just more fun because they're less skill-based and more just kind of random make it more fun to me in some ways just because it makes it so it's a fair competition for whoever I'm playing with regardless of their skill level. And one of the best parts about the minigame is at the end, it takes a picture and it's usually always something ridiculous and it's always just so funny to look at. Dungeon Duos is arguably the best 2v2 minigame in all of Mario Party. I played this minigame in Mario Party 4 and I instantly fell in love with it. There's just so much chaos. Everyone's always yelling at each other and there's just so many different things to it. You know, a lot of minigames, you're just doing the same thing for 30 seconds, same thing for 15 seconds. But Dungeon Duos has you going through so many different obstacles and it's constantly changing and you have to work together. There's just so much skill involved and it is honestly one of the best Mario Party games in all of Mario Party history. And kicking off the top 10 for number 10, we have Chip Shot Challenge. This game is nothing but strategy, and it's just so relaxing to play. You can't hate this minigame. Snowball Summit is number 9 because honestly, it is one of the most chaotic minigames that I have ever played. Every time I play it, it is super exciting and super chaotic. It's super frustrating to lose, and I love that element. With the only reason being that I don't lose, so I don't have to be the one that's frustrated. Knocking people off with the giant snowballs is so hilarious, especially how far they fly when you just hit them with a snowball that's practically sitting still. And of course, there's a button mashing element to it, so if you mash buttons fast enough, there is nothing the opponent can do, and you can get them in an infinite chain and just knock them off. Paths of Peril is another minigame that I played on the GameCube back in the day. My GameCube controller was actually really bad. The joystick used to often drift in certain directions, and so playing Paths of Peril was actually a nightmare, but I actually still got really good on it then. And now since I have a functioning controller on the Switch, it's so much easier for me. And I love this minigame because I would say it's pure skill, but sometimes you can get a longer path if you go the wrong way. And I've lost games purely because of that. But I always feel so good about myself when I perfectly run down a thin path. Number 7, I have Mushroom Mix-Up. I actually don't know how popular this game is in the general community, but I actually have a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of fond memories of playing this minigame in Mario Party 2. And the music is so good in this minigame, and I love how it gets faster paced and it gets so intense. My blood always rushes when I'm playing this minigame, and I have a long match of it. I absolutely love it. Kicking off the top 5 here, we have Shy Guy Says. I really like Shy Guy Says. I don't know what it is. Pressing L and R. Again, it just comes down to those minigames where it starts off slow, it has a simple concept, but it gets faster and faster and more difficult, gets more intense, and I just really live for that. And now for the actual number 5, because I realized that Shy Guy Says was number 6. Number 5, we have Mario's Puzzle Party. This is a really nice minigame. A minigame that I believe has a nice high skill ceiling, but also is really easy for people to learn. Basically being a simplified version of Puyo Puyo. To have one of these types of games as a Mario Party minigame is honestly just really nice. Number 4 is Tackle Takedown. Tackle Takedown is just such an intense game. I love it, how it can be a super short minigame or a super fast minigame. Tackling someone feels so good, and it also feels so good to swerve through the 3 defenders and get to the end zone. Just another chaotic minigame that's super fun, super satisfying, and super balanced. On my list for number 3, I have Hot Rope Jump, and similar to Shy Guy Says and Mushroom Mix-Up, the reason I like this minigame is because it starts off slow, and then it gets faster and more intense. The reason I like this minigame is because I feel like it's purely skill-based. In Mushroom Mix-Up and Shy Guy Says, sometimes it just gets too fast and it becomes impossible for you to keep up. But in Hot Rope Jump, I feel like I can keep going and it's just super satisfying. The music fits the game perfectly. I love the darkness theme of the minigame. Everything about it is just perfect. I never thought I could fall in love with a jump roping Mario Party minigame, considering I grew up with Mario Party 8 and that 1v3 jump rope minigame. It still haunts me to this day. Number 2, I have Snow World. A lot of people may be wondering why I put Snow World so high on this list. It seems like such an average minigame to some people. Some people may even dislike this minigame. But to me, it includes button mashing, skillful button mashing, and really that's all I need in a minigame. That's actually why Skipping Class is my favorite Mario Party minigame of all time. And finally, my number 1 pick, my favorite minigame in Mario Party Superstars, Winner or Dinner. People may be wondering why this game is my favorite. I have a very personal attachment to this minigame. I go way back with this minigame. I've had so many fond memories involving this specific minigame. And I also believe that this minigame is super balanced. I feel like there's not too many coins for it to be a coin collecting minigame. The Piranha plants are a nice little obstacle. Watching them throw players is just super fun. And genuinely, every time I see this minigame pops up, I just get a warm feeling inside. And I literally just get super, super happy. And I don't know what it is, but the music, the style, the Piranha plants, the charm, everything about it just makes this minigame so nice for me. Like no other minigame ever makes me feel this way. And that's why Winner or Dinner is my number 1 pick. Let me know what you guys thought of this list. Remember, if you disagree with me, you're wrong, and have a great day.